Hello, Carolina Catholic Media family. This fall brings more new programs and ideas to grow your Carolina Catholic Media apostolate. You'll find all access to our local programs on air, online, and on demand, with nearly 1,000 audio podcasts and YouTube videos available in our vast library. You'll hear more local parish, school, and ministry news, plus big events being held throughout the fall. Be sure to ask about reserving a Carolina Catholic live broadcast for your event. We encourage you to get involved, come join us, and catch the spirit. The Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% funded by you. Please consider a one-time donation, a monthly pledge, a business sponsorship, or perhaps becoming a program underwriter. Every dollar supports our evangelization mission to spread the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith across the Carolinas. Thank you for discerning a role in the Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate. May God bless you abundantly.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Murphy for the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas and the Obligation Radio Show here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Registration is now open for the 13th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas to be held on March 18th, 2023 at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. It's going to be an amazing day of faith, fellowship, and prayer. Of course, we'll be joined as always by our own Bishop Peter Jugas of the Diocese of Charlotte. We also have a great lineup of speakers, including Charles Frawny. Charles is the author of Slaying Dragons, What Exorcists See, and What We Should Know. He's going to be there to discuss spiritual warfare. Also joining us, Jonathan Fanning. He is an author, speaker, an entrepreneur, and a father. Coming to us from High Point, North Carolina, the Diocese of Charlotte, is Deacon John Clark. Deacon is a former NYPD SWAT officer and former MMA fighter. You won't want to miss this one. Scott Weeman is going to be another one of our speakers. He is with Catholic in Recovery. He's going to talk to us about addiction and recovery for Catholics. And our MC this year will be Kevin Spalding. Kevin is a speaker, an author, and business life coach. You can go online now to www.catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO and save $5. We look forward to seeing you there on this awesome day full of faith, fellowship, and prayer. For the Catholic Men's Conference Carolinas, the Obligation Radio Show, my name is Jason Murphy. God bless and Esto Vir.
This is Carolina Catholic Media Showcase.
Hello, thanks for joining us today. This is Carolyn Kilka, Catholic Divorce Healing Coach. And today we're here on Carolina Catholic Media Network talking with George and Dee King about an important program to help save troubled marriages. And that's coming up right here in Charlotte, October 14th to the 16th. So if you are struggling in your marriage and you're ready for some real help, mark your calendar for October 14th to 16th and listen in now. So I want to welcome you. Hello, George and Dee.
Hi, Carolyn.
Howdy.
So welcome to CCMN and thanks for joining us today. Marriage is such a beautiful sacrament and it's the foundation of the family. And yet, sadly, we see the divorce rate is more than 50%, even among Catholics. And so we know marriages are clearly in trouble and help is needed. And while I work with those discerning separation and divorce and trying to heal from the unfortunate trauma of divorce, it's ideal if we can save those marriages before they get so troubled that someone feels like it has to end. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So, George and Dee, I understand that you're leading a program to help struggling marriages called Retrovaille. So, tell us, what is Retrouvaille?
Retrovaille is a program that was originally started in Canada, and it's Christian-based, Catholic-based ministry, peer ministry, that couples help couples, basically. It starts out with the weekend, which you said is here in Charlotte on the 14th through 16th October. And then it has some follow-up sessions and so forth to keep us strong,
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that Retrovaille weekend. What happens during that weekend?
The weekend starts on a Friday night, and there are several presentations that couples give to us, and we're going to be one of the presenting couples this coming weekend. And we just tell our story. We tell where we were in that time frame of our life where we needed help, and how we made it through with the assistance of Retrovaille. We let couples know that there is hope. Now, we were, quote, fortunate that our problems were mainly my problems, communication. I just didn't communicate very well and so forth. And that the program helped us get through that. But we've seen couples with many, many more problems than ours, including infidelity and so forth, that have worked through the Retrovaille program to save their marriage.
Yeah. And so I understand that there's 3 different phases to the Retrovaille program. What are the 3 phases or the 3 steps?
Well, I'll take this one. I answer this question a lot. There are 3 phases to the Retrovaille program. The first phase is the weekend phase, and that's presented by 3 couples and a priest. They do all those talks. The second phase would be the post phase, and that's a series of it's a series of 12 talks that are presented 6 or 12 weeks following the weekend. And the topics that were discussed during the weekend are developed and worked through. Okay, they're expounded upon during those post talks. The final phase, or the third phase, is the CORE. It's called CORE, which stands for Continuing Our Retrovaille Experience. And couples are invited to meet monthly or as often as they like. At one point in time, we were really struggling during the CORE phase, and so were the other CORE couples, and we agreed to meet twice a month. And we choose the material we want to study. One time we chose Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage by Mark Gungor, and it was a series of 8 sessions, and we would discuss the topic, but my mind just opened up learning about the differences between men and women, and that was a point of healing for me, because I didn't realize we were that different.
We only have our brain to see the world and to judge the world. And when somebody else has a different type of brain, we can't understand what prompts them to do what they do, because that's not how we would do. And if we did that, it would mean something completely different than when the other person does it. So, and I know that you had shared with me that you see 4 stages of marriage. And I think that's real interesting. How do you identify the 4 stages of marriage?
Well, the 4 stages of marriage are romance, and that's real easy. Nobody's judging that. That's easy to accept and work through and enjoy, right? Not
much work there.
I mean, who thinks that there are 4 stages of marriage? I think we all expect that the romance stays, but there is another stage that follows. It's called disillusionment, which is followed by misery,
Mm-hmm.
and then awakening to joy.
And that's where we were trying to move our marriages, right?
Yes, and it wasn't until Retrovaille that we discovered that fourth stage.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand that marriages go through those stages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we run into problems. We have more challenges at certain stages of our life. When children are born, sometimes one or both parents feel disconnected and go through different challenges. And if we have the communication skills and the problem solving skills, we can get through those. But oftentimes, many couples don't have those tools in their tool belt.
Right.
And so they're not equipped, not that they don't care, but they're not equipped and they don't know how to navigate some of those problems. And so, as you mentioned, Dee, sometimes marriages never even make it to the awakening to joy. They
Right.
derail when they're in the misery, because who wants to stay in misery?
Exactly.
So curious. So what made the two of you attend your first Retrovaille weekend? Dee, what happened on your side to prompt you to attend?
Well, I was very tired of having a roommate. That just wasn't my idea of marriage. We had 7 children, and I was extremely lonely. No matter how often I talked to him about things improving, he didn't recognize there was a problem. I think because he wasn't suffering. I was suffering terrible loneliness, and things had to change. I heard about Retrovaille, but I also realized that unless George was willing to make the commitment, we weren't going to attend that weekend. So
Mm-hmm.
I did more than challenge. I demanded that he sign us up, or I was totally done.
So you drew a line in the sand.
Yeah, for a long, long time I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finally took me serious.
Yeah, that's the good news. So what about you, George? Did you want to, did you jump at the chance of going on a weekend with Dee?
No, I'm not into getting in touch with my own feelings. I would rather avoid them. But again, she drew the line in the sand and said, let's I've got to improve. We've got to improve. And I would tell her I love her. What's the problem? And that didn't help much. I had to do it with my actions. So I did agree, and I made the phone call, and we attended our weekend in September 2004.
Mm-hmm. And is it fair to say that you didn't really know what you would be encountering there? You didn't know what there was to learn because you didn't see the problem. So what solutions could you possibly find from a weekend?
That's all I heard about the program, that it was basically like a retreat to help married couples that could be struggling to improve their communication. That's one of the main things, to help with the communication.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay, we attended Marriage Encounter probably 3 or 4 years before that. And I was like, okay, those techniques seem nice, dialogue and discuss and writing letters. But then I got busy with life, right? We have seven children. I got busy with work, and I made that more of a priority, focusing on accomplishing things at work and being a good employee and such. I neglected those techniques that I learned in marriage encounter. So
yeah,
with learning it, it's just implementing it. That's
right.
The kid.
So there's almost like 2 problems potentially in a marriage. I mean, there are many, but one is recognizing the problem, feeling the problem. If you don't see the problem, it's only the other person who feels it. It's hard to address it. But then once you are made aware, then it's that dying to self every day, isn't it? To make that decision that, yes, I'm going to prioritize my spouse. My wife needs to be loved in this certain way. My husband has these needs, and I need to put myself second and put the other person first, and actually step up to the plate and nurture that relationship and prioritize it, like you said, George.
And you just brought up a good point about priorities. I had a very good manager at work, and she told me one time, don't let the good things keep you from doing the best. And I always bring that back into my marriage, going, wait a minute, we could get wrapped up in some very good things, possibly volunteering at church and stuff. But what is the best? And the best is our marriage. If I don't work on the best first, those good things are good, but they aren't where I should be focusing.
Right. Yeah.
We both have education in business, and there's always an opportunity cost involved. And one thing I would share with George was, this is our marriage. If we are not invested in one another, who is? There's no one behind you. So if you don't work on this,
delegate it.
You leave me in a desert alone. And if I'm alone, I may as well be, physically alone. We may as well finish it here. I can't stay married and knowing that there's no healing. It's a decision.
It really is a cautionary tale for all of us to realize that often one person is more aware of the problem and feels them so much more deeply than the other person. And so if your spouse is yelling, if your spouse is begging, if your spouse is, raising the flag, and you don't see what it's all about, and you dismiss those feelings, dismiss those as a complaint, stop complaining, stop criticizing. What we need to do is start listening and saying, help me understand. Don't attack me. Don't criticize me. Don't shame or blame me. Help me understand. What are the solutions? What can I do to make it better? In fact, that's a great question to ask your spouse every week. What can I do to make you feel my love, to improve our relationship, to love you better? How can I love you better? And so then we have the guidance, like, oh, well, I'd like to go out more. I'd like for you to rub my back more. I'd like for you to lower your tone. Okay, so I'm going to work on those things. So back to Retrouvaille. So why are you involved in the Retrouvaille ministry?
Which one do you want to answer?
Oh my God.
For me, I believe that it did save our marriage. Our first presentation that we give at any meeting, typically any post talk, is our personal introduction. And my last sentence, I say in there, without Retrouvaille, we would be another hurting couple. And I needed to correct that, because we wouldn't be. We would be divorced. So that's painful for me to say that, as you said, how would I answer God? I quit. I quit on my marriage. And I would have to answer that to God, but I'd also have to tell our 7 daughters that it's okay for you to quit in your marriage. And I can't do that.
Yeah. So being involved in the Retrouvaille ministry actually is helping you to continue to strengthen your marriage, it sounds like.
It is.
Yeah.
We're not quitters. We can't quit we can't quit on ourselves. We can't quit on our marriage. We can't quit.
Well, you're right. We can't quit on our children, for sure. And I think almost everybody, that would resonate for. We can't quit on God. When we get married, we have this vow before God that we make. And so even if we don't like our spouse very much, we certainly love our children, and we are accountable to God. So even if that has to be the motivation at a time when maybe we don't like our spouse very much at all, use whatever motivation that you can to put yourself back in drive and put the work in that's required. So, Dee, I want to ask you, is marital healing meant for everybody? Is this program for everybody? How do I know if Retrovaille would be right for me?
Well, I think internally, if you feel there's something off and you want to improve upon what you have, if you want to grow, if you want to resolve anything, you can't lose if you attend a Retrovaille weekend. You can't lose. One thing I found extremely valuable is many times as I would talk to George prior to the weekend about what was hurting me and where I saw our conflicts were arising from, it wasn't until we attended the weekend that he really heard me, because the couples up there were sharing and saying the same thing I was saying. And it was amazing how when I listened to the male presenter, it was like I could hear my husband and see a reflection of myself and what he was saying. And I think that was occurring with George as well. So that was like a little switch that helped us recognize that healing was possible. But let me tell you, we were in many cases, well, the presenters actually thought we were a couple that was least likely to succeed, because there was so much anger going on. So much anger from years of frustration.
Yeah.
This is meant for anybody and for everybody. And actually, I wish we could teach these tips to couples who are intending to get married, because many of us, if not all of us, go into it without the tools that we need to succeed.
Exactly. And it's very sad, and I understand. It was something you shared with me, is that from the statistics from Retrovaille reveal that most couples will live in that misery stage that nobody wants to live in for almost 5 years before they reach out for help. And so what we want to say is, if you're married and you're struggling, do not live 5 years in misery. Do not live 1 year in misery. Just get help. There's no shame in it. There's help available. And it's, whether you've been married a short time, get the help and get into the joy stage, because it's more than possible. It happens. So, all right. So what, just briefly, tell us just a little bit more about the ongoing support that couples experience after the initial weekend.
Well, again, the weekend is, I would call it like a tidal wave of emotions. Realizing for me that how lacking I was. And it's like, okay, I realize that now. And I've seen and I've heard from other couples their experiences, and sort of related to many of the talks. But now what, right? It's like watching a quick 5-minute health video, and if you do these sit-ups and we'll go walking, you'll be healthy in no time. No, you have to do that all the time. So that's the follow-up 12 sessions, which is usually for our community is going to be in 6 weeks. So we'll double up on the sessions. That gets into deeper each one of those topics, how to communicate, right? How conflict management works and stuff like that.
Right.
And then again, presenting couples, give you examples of that. And then you have a workbook and you work through those and you can improve. Even this guy can improve with getting in touch with myself. And the first thing I had to do was get in touch with myself.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't all, trying to get into her feelings. It's like, how do I feel about that? I'm not sure. I've been too busy. I didn't, and that was just my family of origin, just to go off, just do it. Okay. You got to do that, do it. But never really get in touch with my own feelings, my own emotions. And then that the 12 sessions helped with that. And then the last one, which is core, continuing at Retrovaille, is like going to the gym. It's like, okay, you've learned a lot of these things. We'll meet once a month typically. And that helps keep me on course. So I'll go back to, and I'm like, oh, look, I'm falling into that old
Yeah.
lifestyle again, which got me in the ditch. Why
Right.
are you doing that? And the core keeps you on track.
Keeps you
For
on
me,
track. Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, we go back and go, oh yeah, we remember misery, awakening. Okay, let's stay away from misery. Let's go back to the romance stage. Let's go out to dinner, every week or however often. And let's stay out of that disillusionment and misery stage.
Yeah, and the support of the other couples, it can't be measured. It's so nice to meet with other people who are like-minded and working through the same things that we're struggling with. Oftentimes they'll share tips or something, or maybe our example helps them. And
Sure.
we never know, but it's really healthy.
You
It's
realize that you're not alone. You're not the only ones. You're not an anomaly, that other people go through these things. And when you see other people working out at the gym, it makes it easier for you to do the work too, I would imagine.
Yeah,
And
I've seen all phases of, or all likes of men and women in there. I remember the one guy that would come to our core and he went to our weekend. I could swear I never heard him speak for 3 years. It was at least 3 years. He didn't share, he didn't know. And then he blossomed. And he was a great guy and he opened up, and a couple, it was really, but it took a while. And again, back to our family of origin, this is the way I dealt with things growing up. Well,
yeah,
that must be the way that you have to deal with things.
right.
They say once you learn that,
Yeah. And there are ways of being that are successful, maybe in the business world, maybe in your relationship with your brother or sister, maybe even with your children. But it's a different level of depth in opening yourself and sharing to actually connect with a spouse that's deeper and more intimate. And if we haven't had that experience growing up, and maybe our temperament doesn't lend us toward that naturally, then there's just this piece that's missing. And how could we even know what it was if we hadn't experienced it? And so, but I also want to comment on the wife of the man who took 3 years to speak. What a beautiful example of patience and love on the part of the wife. And even, I don't know how she was handling him or dealing with him, but the fact that they stayed together for those 3 years, and that she was patient enough to at least stick around and to wait for him to blossom. Because isn't that what the Lord does? Is that he, if you think about our lives and our hearts like a plant, that he nurtures us, he waters us, he gives us sun, he pours out his mercy and his grace. And that we are called as a spouse, we're called to understand, to try to understand our spouse, and to nurture them in the areas that maybe they haven't blossomed yet. We know there are plants that only blossom once a year. It takes a long time. And so just a word on patience for someone who's trying, give them the benefit of the doubt and the credit where credit is due. So last section here on the home stretch. So how long has Retrouvaille been around, and how effective has it been in saving marriages? Because I know that there's no program in the world that can save a marriage. The couple has to choose to do the work. But what's the track record of the Retrouvaille couples?
I don't know the exact statistics, and we've asked. The detail we get from our international group is that it is very high, whatever that means. So I'm all for, I'm a number statistic guys. I want to know exactly what happens in this box and everything. And what I've seen through the program is marriages that were wrecked, and that the couples work on it and they save their marriages. So I'm more concerned about what can I do to make my marriage last. I know that the statistics are high, and it's also hard to find the exact statistics, because if a couple does separate and we don't track them, right? We don't go after them and find out all that detail. So they may be together, they may be not. sometimes couples just need a small tune-up, right? I
Mhm,
consider us
mhm.
maybe more of a smaller tune-up, but a major tune-up.
Major.
But so they may come to the weekend and through the sessions and go, "Hey, that's great. I'm much better now," and we feel, and they don't come back to the course. We never
Mhm.
hear from them again.
But there was a study done in 2015 that does provide some stats, honey.
Okay, you know that.
Yeah,
She's
well,
my numbers girl today.
over 5,000 couples were studied, almost 6,000 actually. And I believe 5 years out, I'm not exactly sure the exact stat. Was it 70?
So what you
We're
had
still
shared
out.
with me, Dee, is that 5,000 plus respondents who experienced a weekend in the past 5 years, that more than 76% are still married to the same spouse.
Yes.
And more than 95% said they were likely to recommend the program to a struggling couple. And that, I mean, those numbers, again, you're right. Each marriage is, precious, and, want everyone to be saved. But those are very impressive numbers for any program of, any recovery program in any domain.
Yeah, and it motivates us, and is why are we involved? We've seen the healing firsthand. We've gone through it. And we've heard from our daughters, Mom and Dad, thank you so much for setting a good example. Thank you for staying involved.
Yes.
They loved it when we went to our core meetings once a month. They're like, oh, yeah, miss our play, go to core. Miss our game, go to core.
It's so important to the children that mom and dad love each other and are at peace with each other. That allows that peace to trickle down to them in the family. And I know our time is short here, but I wanted to read this little paragraph that you shared with me. What are some of the issues that couples come with? You had written, they come with fighting, disagreements, sort of a married singles lifestyle where they're really not connected. They're both sort of on their own and out there. Infidelity, extramarital affairs, pornography, verbal abuse, sexual problems, financial difficulties, in-laws, outlaws, or extended family, influences, travel, living apart, substance abuse, addiction recovery, working too much, job stress, and I'm sure there are many others. But so listeners, if you are dealing with some of those problems and those issues, Retrouvaille will help to address those. And I love this statement that you had quoted here, that Jesus said, "Freely you have received, freely give." And that's what you are doing by giving back to the other couples. Not only are the couples restored, but their families are strengthened. And we know that Jesus came to heal the brokenhearted and to bring freedom. And Retrouvaille is one ministry that God has raised up to bring this to pass in thousands of marriages worldwide. And so let's close by helping to plug people in. So how do I sign up for a weekend?
Helpourmarriage.org is the best way to go. Just go there and you will see the detail. You see more detail, as we discussed here, about what the weekend covers, and you will find the weekend. You scroll down, you can find the closest community, either by distance or by time, right? So if you I need it, like my wife said, I need it now. I found the one that was an hour and a half away. Luckily, it was God was after us.
And we're so fortunate in Charlotte that we have a weekend coming up, October 14th to 16th, right in the Charlotte area.
Yes. Yeah. We'll be scheduling more for next year, but that's the current one. And again, there was one, I believe, a couple of weeks ago in Raleigh. Atlanta is having one, I believe, this weekend. So that there's a constant need, unfortunately, and we will work on the supply.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, George. Thank you, Dee, for this mission that you have, for the work, for the investment that you have made. First of all, in your own marriage and family, just congratulations. Not everybody shows up and does the work. You did. My hat is off to you. Go to helpourmarriage.org and get more information about Retrovaille and sign up for a weekend if you're ready to put the work in and bring your marriage into the joy stage. Thanks, George.
Thanks, Carolyn. God bless.
God bless you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Carolina Catholic Media Showcase. For more information about us and to support our nonprofit mission of broadcasting the message of Jesus Christ, visit carolinacatholicradio.org and follow, friend, and like us on social media by searching for Carolina Catholic Radio.
Hello, Carolina Catholic Media family. This fall brings more new programs and ideas to grow your Carolina Catholic Media apostolate. You'll find all access to our local programs on air, online, and on demand, with nearly 1,000 audio podcasts and YouTube videos available in our vast library. You'll hear more local parish, school, and ministry news, plus big events being held throughout the fall. Be sure to ask about reserving a Carolina Catholic live broadcast for your event. We encourage you to get involved, come join us, and catch the spirit. The Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% funded by you. Please consider a one-time donation, a monthly pledge, a business sponsorship, or perhaps becoming a program underwriter. Every dollar supports our evangelization mission to spread the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith across the Carolinas. Thank you for discerning a role in the Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate. May God bless you abundantly.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Murphy for the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas and the Obligation Radio Show here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Registration is now open for the 13th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas to be held on March 18th, 2023 at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. It's going to be an amazing day of faith, fellowship, and prayer. Of course, we'll be joined, as always, by our own Bishop Peter Jugas of the Diocese of Charlotte. We also have a great lineup of speakers, including Charles Frawny. Charles is the author of Slaying Dragons, What Exorcists See, and What We Should Know. He's going to be there to discuss spiritual warfare. Also joining us, Jonathan Fanning. He is an author, speaker, an entrepreneur, and a father. Coming to us from High Point, North Carolina, the Diocese of Charlotte, is Deacon John Clark. Deacon is a former NYPD SWAT officer and former MMA fighter. You won't want to miss this one. Scott Weeman is going to be another one of our speakers. He is with Catholic in Recovery. He's going to talk to us about addiction and recovery for Catholics. And our MC this year will be Kevin Spalding. Kevin is a speaker, an author, and business life coach. You can go online now to www.catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO and save $5. We look forward to seeing you there on this awesome day full of faith, fellowship, and prayer. For the Catholic Men's Conference Carolinas, the Obligation Radio Show, my name is Jason Murphy. God bless and Esto Vir.